Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I just thought I'd pop on today and just have more of a friendly chat without any prior prep to my video. I want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for everyone that has stuck along with me in this weird life of chronic pain and motherhood and endometriosis all in the mix. I find that it's been so therapeutic to just come on a tiny camera and talk to each and every one of you. And by talk to, I mean talk at you, because I wish we had a chance to kind of connect in person. My daughter had her first couple of days at daycare and asked me if I was a wreck. I was a wreck, okay? It's been hard. It's like a weird identity change. I think I always talked about this in my pregnancy videos related to endo, but before becoming pregnant, I did a whole corporate life. I, did a couple of school degrees. I work as a federal lobbyist. Like I just had this identity as this corporate baddie. And I never really thought that that identity would go away when I became a mom. I just thought that I would be like a corporate girl plus a mom. And the moment that I gave birth was the moment that like my whole professional career shut down. I didn't really have that corporate baddie mindset. I was living in sweatpants in the middle of my rural, middle of nowhere house. And I just felt really disconnected from that puzzle piece of myself that I knew for 8+ years. I lived my whole maternity leave, which is now over. She's in daycare. I lived that whole period kind of grasping on to that former identity that I had for myself of where did that professional girl go? It's not to say that I didn't enjoy motherhood. I did suffer with, postpartum depression and anxiety that crept up around the 10-month mark. But that was something else that I was dealing with identity-wise, of just figuring out why I'm feeling like this, why I'm feeling so low or anxious when I've been a mom for 10 months after giving birth. And it just was a weird time. And because now that she's in daycare, the first day that I dropped her off with my partner, Nick, I came back home and started sobbing because the house was quiet. There wasn't little like gurgles or smiles or like food to get ready in the day. And that identity of professional girl had like flown out the window. And I was like, my identity as a mom kind of set in of why was I not pushing that identity away? I love being a mom and I love my daughter so much. But the moment that she wasn't around me, I felt that mother identity sink in a beautiful place of, I want that identity to be motherhood, and I want my identity to be alongside her. And I don't know why I was like afraid to jump into that motherhood identity. Maybe it was because I was afraid to lose that part of myself that I knew for so long. But I just wanted to come on here. I think I'm rambling a little bit, but identities are complex, especially like the older we grow, we go through different chapters of life. We look back on our childhood and say, wow, I was a totally different person back then. And the way that we saw our identity back then is so different than the way we view ourselves now. And chronic illness plays a part in that too, because when I was first diagnosed with endometriosis, my identity shifted a bit. I felt like my chronic illness was me, and that I was solely defined by my pain and discomfort and the disease that was like taking over my entire body when I didn't want it to. And I just felt out of control in that identity shift of something has claimed ownership of me and my identity without my like consent. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but finding yourself in a chronic illness journey is a wild roller coaster. And I always say this too in my videos, but it takes a long time, and it's like not always linear, and it's not like always a fun roller coaster to be on. Some days I wake up and I'm like, I have ownership over endo. I feel like I'm empowered. I feel like I can come on and talk to people about what endo is. And I feel just like a great sense of ownership over that endo piece. But some days I wake up and I have a flare up and I'm like, Why do I feel like this defines who I am when it doesn't need to? And your chronic illness doesn't need to define you if you don't want it to. And it's the same with other aspects of my life. There's other puzzle pieces to myself. I'm going back to work, so that corporate baddie, she's coming back, and maybe I want to hold on to that identity again, but I'm feeling more of like that motherhood identity crawling into, and I want it to be there, and I want that part to be a bigger puzzle piece for me instead of that corporate one that I held on to for so long and felt like that identified me. And because I was like a female in a male-dominated industry, I think I held on to that professional identity more because I had worked and crawled my way up in the ladder so much that I was like, I can't let this identity go because I worked so hard for it. I like studied so hard for it. I'm doing well in it. And the moment that I went on leave from it, it's like, again, feeling like I didn't have control over the way that I viewed myself or the way that I would present myself to others. And it's, again, that motherhood piece. I'm just like entering, I feel like, into a new chapter of the way I view myself and the way that I want to define myself to others. And I don't know, this is just an open chat, I guess, about identities and that it's not always black and white, and you don't always have to be solely a student or solely a professional or a mother or a chronic illness warrior. Like, there are other puzzle pieces to ourselves that make up who we are. And sometimes it's hard to let that puzzle piece go, or like we hold on to it for so long, and so like much of our time is like wrapped into that identity. But it's okay to let that unravel and to like lay it out into your chapter book and say, that is a beautiful part of who I am or who I was, but I'm leaning into this new puzzle piece of myself. If you're struggling with your chronic illness identity and feeling like whether you just got diagnosed or just had your first pain or symptom and you're feeling like you don't know who you are, I know that is like a crazy place to be and a scary place to be because you're like, who is this person? I don't recognize them in the mirror. But trust me when I say that person is still beautiful and still strong and still intelligent and courageous and determined and vulnerable. And you are such a complex being that your identity doesn't need to solely be defined by your chronic illness if you don't want it to. If you want to say that you suffer with endometriosis or another chronic condition, go for it. If you're not ready to share that part of yourself because you don't want it to define you, please don't let that like weigh you down. Your identity is whatever you want to define it as, but I guess from coming from a place of living with a chronic condition for so long and feeling that weight of it defines me, I just want to come on and say that sometimes that weight is lifted and there's other puzzle pieces to yourself that make you who you are. And I'm just so incredibly proud of each and every one of you. There is so much space for you, and I want you to take up that space. That's just my little, I guess, friend-to-friend chat that I wanted to have with you today. Kind of a ramble. I don't know if it made any sense, but just know that identities can be complex and it's not always black and white, but it's okay to let go of puzzle pieces that we held on to for so long, and it's okay to keep holding on to them too, whatever you decide. But just know that if it's feeling heavy and it's feeling like you're losing a bit of yourself, just know that a better part or a better version of yourself is waiting around the corner with a beautiful puzzle piece ready to be like presented to you to make you a more well-rounded, wholesome, beautiful person that you are. And you're not letting that puzzle piece go. If anything, like if it is heavy, it's still part of your chapter book, but just know that it's okay to let it go and walk around the corner to get that next puzzle piece waiting for you. So yeah, that's my really random ramble for today. But needless to say, I'm so sad that she's in daycare now. And I'm feeling like I'm in the crux of figuring out who the new version of M is. But I'm excited to see who that is and to grasp onto that puzzle piece waiting for me around the corner. So yeah, I don't know if this resonates with anybody else, but I'll talk to you on the next video, and I'm sure it will be more endometriosis related. And in the meantime, have a beautiful, wonderful, flare-free day.